Hello, passionate Celtic fans. Today we have so much to cover, and I'm buzzing to dive straight into it. First off, a massive welcome to everyone who's recently joined the channel and the Celtic family. It's fantastic to see the community growing stronger every day. Your support truly keeps this going. And whether you're tuning in from Glasgow or beyond, it's clear that the spirit of the club unites us all. We've got plenty to talk about, from the transfer window, stirring up excitement and confusion, to upcoming fixtures that could shape the course of the season. Let's start with something that's been dominating the chatter across Scottish football and online forums alike: Celtic's transfer strategy, or perhaps lack of imagination, has taken a curious turn. The news that Kyogo could be returning to Celtic, possibly on loan from Birmingham City, has left fans scratching their heads and debating endlessly. It's almost poetic in its absurdity, replacing Kyogo with Kyogo. The forward who left nearly a year ago might now be back to fill the void he once occupied. On one hand, it's comforting to think of a player familiar with the club, the league, and the city. On the other hand, it feels like a sign of desperation, a lack of ambition in recruitment, and perhaps even a failure to innovate. Reports started trickling in yesterday, with Scottish Sun claiming that Celtic had identified Kyogo as a potential solution just in time for the weekend clash with Dundee United. The suggestion was that the club had spent the last 24 hours exploring the possibility of a loan deal, and Martin O'Neill, now back in charge, had expressed the need for reinforcements. Naturally, fans began imagining the forward taking to Celtic Park once again, perhaps even featuring in tomorrow's match. But as usual, the situation isn't as straightforward as early headlines made it sound. Later updates painted a more complicated picture. The Herald noted that convincing Kyogo to leave Birmingham City won't be easy. Earning a hefty salary of £40,000 per week, the striker isn't exactly in a rush to abandon English football, where he's aiming to prove himself after a difficult season. Financial negotiations and persuading the player to return to Scottish football are only part of the challenge. Celtic supporters remember his incredible record with the club: 85 goals in 165 appearances, along with 8 major honours. But while nostalgia is powerful, it doesn't erase the practical obstacles standing in the way of a deal. Birmingham City manager Chris Davies also weighed in, emphasising that Kyogo's focus remains on giving his best for his current team. Davies, who has intimate knowledge of Celtic and Brendan Rodgers' first spell, made it clear that no discussions have taken place about a loan or transfer. According to him, the plan is for Kyogo to continue improving his form and contributing goals for Birmingham, suggesting that the player's immediate future may not include a return to Glasgow. All of this leaves Celtic fans in a state of cautious optimism, teetering between hope and realism. If we step back and consider the broader picture, it's clear that Celtic are navigating a tricky landscape. Re-signing a former star might bring a short-term boost and certainly carry sentimental value, but it also raises questions about the club's long-term strategy. Is the plan really to rely on past glories and familiar faces because scouting fresh talent feels too uncertain? Historically, we've seen similar moves with other players, and while the return of a former hero can be magical, it's not a sustainable model for sustained success. That said, from a purely footballing perspective, a loan deal could work. Kyogo knows the league, the team, and the style of play. Even if he's not at the peak of his powers, the familiarity could make him a strong option compared to current alternatives. Players like Johnny Kenny have shown effort, and dedication, but perhaps lack the quality to be a first-choice striker consistently. A short-term loan might bring the necessary firepower up front and stabilize a struggling attack, particularly with Ian Ale still battling fitness issues. In this context, Kyogo represents both a safe choice and a calculated risk. Safe because we know what he's capable of, risky because it reflects limited ambition. Meanwhile, Celtic are also looking beyond Kyogo. Reports suggest that the club has been working on other signings, aiming to strengthen the squad more broadly. Bournemouth right-back Julian Araujo is set to join on loan, and Ivorian winger Jocelyn Tabi is reportedly close to a £2 million move. Tabi, a young player with pace and directness, represents more of a long-term investment. While the clips we've seen don't scream immediate game changer, the opportunity to develop him within Celtic's setup could pay dividends in the future. Additional moves are reportedly on the cards. Another right-sided attacker is being pursued, along with two more strikers before the transfer window closes. This raises the possibility that if Kyogo does return, he might not be the sole addition. The ambition seems to be to cover multiple bases, but whether these acquisitions will elevate the squad significantly remains to be seen. There are also wider considerations surrounding Tabi's current club in Israel, with political and ethical questions being raised about the ownership and business ties of Maccabi Netanya. Celtic have faced calls to reconsider the move, highlighting the delicate balance between footballing ambition and broader responsibilities. Then there's Nico Seeger, a Canadian international who has caught the eye of Celtic scouts, a defensive midfielder who can also cover right-back. Sigur's potential arrival could inject energy into a midfield that has been somewhat stale. The transfer appears to be delayed temporarily due to managerial changes, with Wilfried Nancy's departure and Martin O'Neill's return causing a brief pause in ongoing negotiations. Nevertheless, he represents another piece in the puzzle of refreshing the squad with younger, versatile talent. Celtic's own academy and recent loanees continue to provide additional layers to the story. Players like Kobe Donovan and Sean McArdle are being monitored closely. Donovan, linked with Dundee, might benefit from a loan move to gain more playing time, while McArdle has returned from Partick Thistle and is now back in contention for first-team opportunities. These decisions reflect the club's ongoing struggle to balance nurturing talent and maintaining competitiveness at the top level. Off the pitch, it's been fascinating to see former Celtic figures making headlines elsewhere. Brendan Rodgers' Al Nassr side recently secured a high-profile win in Saudi Arabia, featuring Cristiano Ronaldo, João Felix, and others. Moments like these serve as reminders of the wider Celtic network and how former managers and players continue to shape football stories globally, keeping the club connected to an international narrative. Back to the here and now. Tomorrow's fixture against Dundee United looms large. Martin O'Neill's return brings hope of immediate improvement, and fans are expecting results more than aesthetics. The pressure is on, the stakes are high, and the team will need to deliver to maintain momentum. With transfer speculation swirling and a mix of experienced stars and emerging talents, tomorrow could provide a glimpse of how well Celtic can adapt under renewed leadership. The atmosphere at Celtic Park will be electric, with supporters eager to see whether the club can navigate this turbulent period effectively. There's a mix of anticipation, skepticism, and cautious optimism in the air As fans weigh the potential impact of loan deals, new signings, and managerial influence, while the season has thrown challenges, there's still room for excitement, particularly if the right players are integrated and the team finds a rhythm in the Premiership. Moving on from the transfer talk, it's worth diving deeper into the squad dynamics and what Martin O'Neill might actually have at his disposal for tomorrow's clash against Dundee United. One of the key talking points has been the forward line, and it's clear that Celtic are in a bit of a transitional phase. With Kyogo Furuhashi potentially returning, the spotlight is on how the rest of the attacking options measure up. Players like Johnny Kenny have shown glimpses of promise, but often lack the clinical edge required at the Premiership level. The potential reintegration of a familiar face like Kyogo could offer immediate firepower, yet it also brings questions about long-term strategy and whether the club is doing enough to identify fresh talent. Meanwhile, the right flank has been another area under scrutiny. Jocelyn Tabi, the young Ivorian winger, reportedly nearing a move from Maccabi Netanya, brings speed and a willingness to take on defenders, but the wider picture remains uncertain. He has raw talent, yet adapting to Celtic Park's intensity and the expectations of the fans will be a test. Alongside him, another right-sided attacker is expected to arrive, though details remain murky. The hope is that these additions will inject creativity and width, complementing the central playmakers and alleviating some of the pressure on the striker's role. Turning attention to the midfield, it's clear that depth has been an ongoing concern. Nico Sigur, the Canadian international, could provide some much-needed versatility, capable of anchoring the midfield or filling in at right back if required. His energy and defensive awareness are positives, but the question is whether he will adapt quickly enough to make a tangible impact in the Premiership. The midfield has struggled with consistency, often relying on established players whose form can be unpredictable. Injecting youth and adaptability could help change the tempo of matches and offer O'Neill more tactical flexibility, particularly against sides like Dundee United, who are well-drilled and disciplined defensively. The defensive line itself has also been a topic of discussion. Julian Araujo's arrival from Bournemouth on loan strengthens the back line, providing both pace and defensive reliability. Celtic have occasionally been exposed down the flanks, and Araujo's presence could mitigate some of those vulnerabilities. However, it's not just about adding new players. Cohesion and understanding among defenders is crucial. O'Neill will need to balance integrating new signings with maintaining the structure and chemistry that already exists within the squad. In terms of upcoming fixtures, tomorrow's game is pivotal. Dundee United are not pushovers, and while Celtic are expected to dominate possession, the Premiership often punishes complacency. The pressure will be on O'Neill to motivate the squad effectively and ensure that focus is maintained throughout the 90 minutes. A win could provide a platform for further positive results, especially as the transfer window continues to unfold and new additions are integrated. Conversely, a poor performance could exacerbate frustrations among supporters who have become increasingly vocal about the need for a proactive approach in the market. Looking at individual players, the spotlight remains on those returning from loans or facing uncertain futures. Kobe Donovan, linked with a potential loan to Dundee, represents an intriguing case. His talent is evident, yet first-team opportunities have been limited, and a temporary move could provide valuable experience and confidence. Similarly, Sean McArdle, back from Partick Thistle, will be looking to make an impression. His performances with the B team and in training have been promising, but breaking into a Celtic starting lineup remains a challenge given the competition and expectations at the club. Off the pitch, Celtic have faced their share of controversies and broader discussions. The potential signing of Jocelyn Tebe, given the ownership structure of Maccabi Netanya and its links to Israeli defense manufacturers, has drawn criticism from various quarters. It highlights the complexities modern football clubs face, balancing the desire to strengthen squads with ethical considerations and public perception. How the club navigates these conversations will influence not only fan sentiment, but also wider media narratives, which have a habit of shaping the tone around high-profile transfers. It's also worth noting the continued influence of former players and managers on Celtic's narrative. Brendan Rodgers' work in Saudi Arabia has kept him in the headlines, with victories against teams featuring Cristiano Ronaldo and João Felix. While this may seem tangential, it reinforces the global footprint of Celtic-associated figures, reminding fans that the club's influence extends far beyond Glasgow. Observing former players and managers' successes elsewhere can offer perspective on current challenges and perhaps even inspire lessons for current staff and decision-makers. Returning to the tactical side, O'Neill faces a complex puzzle in arranging the team, balancing experienced players with new signings while also managing fitness concerns is no easy task. Ian Ailes' injury record remains a concern, and ensuring that key players are not overexposed is essential. The integration of young talents like Tabi and Siga adds layers of opportunity, but also uncertainty. O'Neill's challenge will be to harmonize these elements, extracting immediate performance without compromising the longer-term development of the squad. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. The word drifting around the corridors and cafes of Glasgow is that Celtic may have quietly landed a piece of business that reaches far beyond the touchline. The name doing the rounds is KEITA Kosugi, a fullback spoken of with a mix of curiosity and excitement. And while nothing has been paraded for the cameras, the feeling is that something significant is stirring. Insiders murmur that the club have edged ahead of rivals, sounding out terms and smoothing the path for a move that would carry both footballing promise and commercial weight. Kosugi is viewed as a modern, wide defender, sharp in the press and comfortable pushing high. The sort of player who fits the tempo Celtic demand when they stretch the game. Those close to the situation suggest the recruitment team see him as a long-term project rather than a quick fix, someone who can be shaped within the system and trusted to grow into the shirt. The speculation goes further, hinting that the manager has been briefed and is keen on the profile, valuing discipline and energy as much as flair. Yet the ripple caused by Kosugi's possible arrival is not confined to training ground debates. There's a sense that Celtic are once again eyeing the Asian market with intent, aware of the cultural pull such a signing can generate. Shirts, broadcasts, and brand presence follow players as much as performances, and a Japanese defender wearing green and white would resonate loudly back home. The club's past experiences in the region are said to have sharpened their appetite for this kind of move, blending sporting logic with global strategy. For now, everything remains wrapped in cautious language. No announcement, no photographs, just whispers and knowing glances. But in the world of football rumors, where smoke often hints at fire, the idea of a samurai patrolling the flank at Celtic Park feels less like fantasy and more like a calculated gamble waiting to be revealed. Hello. Fan, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.